Now, the Defence Force is in dire straits. Parliament heard this week that the military does not have enough capacity in terms of vehicles or fighter jets. But what does this mean? What are the implications here? Let's bring in Guy Martin from Defence Web to help us make sense of all of this. Guy, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. The presentations were made by state-owned Denel and Armsco to Parliament paint a very, very grim picture of our Defence Force, particularly the Air Force.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's a very grim picture indeed. Only about a quarter of the Air Force's 217 aircraft are serviceable. Only one out of the 4 frigates, none of the 3 submarines. A lot of the vehicles we have are still serviceable, but they are getting quite old, and their replacements are basically, the Armsco has recommended that the contract with Denel for new infantry fighting vehicles be cancelled because Denel cannot deliver on that. And Denel was supposed to supply over 200 new vehicles to the South African Army, and it doesn't look like they'll be getting anything anytime soon. So it is quite a dire situation.
Where does the problem lie here? I mean, we've seen Denel also popping up in the state capture reporting. Corruption has something to do with it?
Yes, a lot of the problems with Denel are because of state capture. If it hadn't been for state capture, Denel wouldn't have a liquidity crisis, and they would still be able to pay their suppliers, and they would be able to fulfill the contracts that they have with the South African Air Force. So a lot of their suppliers refuse to work with Denel because they are owed huge amounts of money. And Armsco has had to pay Denel's suppliers directly. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any work done on the South African Air Force aircraft at all.
So the capability for South Africa to defend its borders or defend itself, where would you put it currently? I mean, it's like we cannot do it.
Well, we're just about managing, but the situation is becoming very tenuous. If you look at Mozambique, we've got several hundred special forces in Mozambique. We lost one soldier recently in a firefight there with insurgents. And those soldiers are quite exposed because they only have a couple of transport helicopters to support them. There are no fighter jets, there are no attack helicopters available. So we've got 11 Rooivalk attack helicopters, but only 4 of those are serviceable. And 3 of them are up in the Democratic Republic of Congo supporting the United Nations mission there. So there just isn't the capacity. And what worries me is that if the situation carries on like this, we are going to see more body bags coming back from places like Mozambique.
And should we be there? I mean, looking at this report, I wonder if those 1,490 odd soldiers and our commitment to SADC should carry on. Very briefly, Guy, I mean, from these presentations, do you think Denel and Armsco will find a solution? Is there a solution here, or should Denel be shut down?
Well, the problem with shutting Denel down is that South Africa will then lose a lot of its sovereign capabilities, and it will have to become more reliant on importing equipment and spares from overseas. I mean, at the moment, it's going to be forced to do that anyway. So the SANDF is in a bit of a lose-lose situation. If Denel carries on, Denel is unlikely to be able to deliver anytime soon anyway. But if Denel is shut down, long term, the SANDF will lose out.
It's going to lose so much. It's bad. It's a very tough situation. Thank you very much, Guy Martin from Defence Web there, painting that grim picture that was presented to Parliament about Denel and Armsco. I mean, just a few years ago, those 2 companies, Armsco and Denel, were at the top of their game globally. Countries overseas were buying arms that are manufactured in South Africa. Today, it's a shell of themselves. Why? Partly also mismanagement and corruption. You see what corruption can do. Okay, it's time now for sports. Let's look at something else.